Mark Magnuson for the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm here today at the Farm Progress Show 2024, and we're at the Renewable Fuels Association. I'm here with Geoff Cooper. He is the president and CEO. Always good to stop by and talk with Geoff here at Farm Progress. And Geoff, there's always a lot of different things in the world of ethanol, but before we started here today, you were mentioning to me just how strong exports are, which is something that kind of you don't always hear about when it comes to ethanol. Could you explain exactly where we're at with that right now?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are surprised to learn that we do export a lot of the ethanol we're producing here in the U.S. In fact, we're on pace for record ethanol exports this year. Probably somewhere on the order of 2 billion gallons will be exported. So you think about the fact that we produce, a little over 4 billion gallons of ethanol in the state of Iowa. About half of that, volume-wise, is going to be exported into the international marketplace. So we're seeing really strong demand globally. A lot of that is being driven by the same factors that drive demand here domestically. Lower cost, lower emissions, cleaner burning fuel. There's a lot of countries around the world that are really catching on to those benefits and increasing their imports of U.S. ethanol as a result of that.
And we, of course, have that infrastructure to produce that ethanol. I would imagine a lot of other countries do not have that infrastructure.
That's right. When we look at where ethanol exports are going, in many cases they are going to countries that have not yet developed their own domestic industries yet or don't have the infrastructure to produce large volumes of biofuels. But then on the other hand, we've got markets like Canada, which is our number one export market right now, which is seeing growth in its own domestic marketplace. But they've recently enacted policies that really are driving demand for low carbon, lower cost fuels, and that's why we're seeing so much potential and growth in Canada.
When it comes to biofuels, there's a lot of talk about the tax credits that are tied to them. Where are we at with that right now? What is happening in terms of the tax credits? Are they working as intended so far?
Right. Well, for ethanol, we don't have any tax credits existing currently, but there is a new program that's supposed to start on January 1st of 2025 that's called the Section 45Z tax credit. It would provide a tax credit to ethanol producers based on the carbon intensity or the carbon footprint of the ethanol they're producing. We're still waiting on the rules for that. The U.S. Treasury Department hasn't published the regulations that really tell us how that's going to work exactly. So we are anxiously awaiting more guidance and more clarity on what that program is going to look like.
And from the farmer perspective, waiting to see those requirements for what they need to do in terms of the management practices, correct?
That's exactly right. One of the significant ways to reduce carbon intensity of ethanol is to reduce the carbon intensity of corn production. And so part of this tax credit we think is really going to stimulate or could stimulate adoption of what USDA calls climate smart agriculture practices, lower carbon practices, and obviously some of the value of that tax credit would be shared with farmers who adopt those practices as a reward and as an incentive for the adoption of those practices.
Well, Geoff, a very busy, very popular guy here at the show. So before we let him go and take off to his next speaking engagement, Geoff, is there anything else you'd like to let our viewers, our listeners in the state of Iowa think about what RFA is working on or just what they need to have top of mind?
Well, I'd just like to remind people that the ethanol industry is doing great. We've had a very good year so far, very healthy, profitable industry. I know things aren't looking so great for the corn market, but I think, just reminding folks that this is very likely to be the single largest market for corn by the time this marketing year is over. We're looking at 5.5 billion bushels of corn going into ethanol or more than that, and we want to continue expanding and growing demand for ethanol so we can grind more corn and purchase more corn from farmers.
He is president and CEO of the Renewable Fuels Association, Geoff Cooper. Geoff, thanks for the time here today. We always appreciate it, and have a great rest of the Farm Progress Show.
All right, thanks so much.